Hi, I'm author Jenny Goutet. I write clean historical romance, and today I want to talk about artificial intelligence, how I use it as an author, and how I don't. It is a timely topic because recently New York Times published an article that was titled Claude is the New Fabio. And they interviewed author Coral Hart, this is a pen name, who wrote for Mills and Boon, Harlequin, and already on her own was very prolific. She could write 10 to 12 books a year under 5 different pen names. Well, she decided to try an experiment. She would use prompts to get artificial intelligence to write the book for her, and she wanted to see how that went. So she ended up really figuring out how to use AI to write these books, and now she writes under 21 pen names, and in 8 months she produced 200 novels. So that is a little bit shocking to a lot of us. And because they're pen names, nobody knows which of them are artificial intelligence and which of them are her. I'm assuming that she's no longer writing her own books. She's just using artificial intelligence to write her books because she's taught over 1,600 people to use AI, and she's got a proprietary system that can take your outline and write a book for you in an hour. I'm guessing that that is how she is keeping up. I thought I would disclose how I use AI and then also talk about the ways that I don't. For me, I find it useful to use artificial intelligence for research, especially certain research. For instance, in A Gentleman's Reckoning, I needed something that a peer of the realm could invest in Latin America in the fall of 1814, but that wouldn't reach England in terms of the results of how it went. So they wouldn't know how the investment went until January of 1815. I had no idea what sorts of things he could invest in and what were the political happenings of that time. And so I did research on AI, and I was able to come up with a plausible scenario investing in rebels in, I can't even remember now which country. It was a very minor part of the plot, but it was essential because he did not tell the other investors that were also peers that it did not go well, and he was able to pull out and leave them to kind of pick up the scraps. And so that was a scandal that the hero needed to reveal to everyone. That is a very specific example of how I will use AI. Sometimes I will use it to find quotes. If I need a quote from a particular author, or I just need a quote, something that's going to fit what I need in that particular moment, that's something that is hard to get through regular research because you just have to skim like quotes, and hope that you'll settle on one. But with AI, you're able to say, I need a quote that talks about this, and then you'll get a bunch of them. I've used it for just give me some ideas about what a room might look like in Paris in 1771, the house, like the interior. Then I'm able to imagine it better. I have used it for jogging plot ideas, like what could happen in this and this and this. Now, this is something that normally I would do with other authors. We would brainstorm together, but sometimes the other authors are not there. I have a deadline that's looming, and I just need some idea jogging. And so I'll use it for that. Now, that is pretty much where it stops. I don't copy, even if they give a dialogue, because AI always wants to go further. Shall I give you a whole scene? Shall I, or they'll give a dialogue. Even if I think it's better than what I would have come up with on my own, I won't use it. I will only use my own words. If they give me a description of a room or something, I won't copy the description. I'll take it, I'll read it, and then I'll go off and I'll imagine, and then it becomes something where I can see it and it's mine and it's not a copy of what I just read. Obviously, sometimes it's wrong. I do ask for links a lot of times. For instance, with this thing for A Gentleman's Reckoning, I said, okay, give me links because I want to make sure I'm not making something up. But sometimes I forget to ask for links, and my editor will say, there was no fire in the opera house in 1815. It was much earlier. Or the quote, I won't double check it, and the quote will be the wrong author or not exactly like that. And so, fortunately, I have editors who will catch these things for me, but I do try to use it correctly. The things I don't use it for, as I said, I don't copy any prose. I don't put my prose into the program and say, make it better or correct it. I just rely on the editors for that and my own subsequent drafts to improve it. I don't use it for narration. And those of you who listen to Stevie Zimmerman, read all of my books, will definitely appreciate that. I could never have anything as good as what she does. Translations. Now, I have my books translated into 6 languages. Hungarian. Now, this is done with a publishing company, and they are amazing. So I'm very happy about that. The rest are all done through me hiring people. So it's in Portuguese, Spanish, French, Italian, and German. I pay all of these translators and I pay the editors in that language to edit it after the translation is done. Now, I cannot say that I will never use AI. I know that's a big trend. I cannot say I will never use AI to translate in a different language that I don't already have a relationship with a translator in, and then pay an editor. That's not my goal right now. And yeah, I won't say that I'll never do it, but I'm definitely not looking to do that. I'm looking, okay, if I want to earn income in a different way, I'll just do it in a different way. I really don't like the idea of taking away people's jobs. Obviously, I use photos for my books. Most of the time. There was one, A Sham Betrothal has an illustrated or a graphic cover. But, my Daughters of the Gentry series, that has an illustrated cover. And I used Sally Dunn. And so she's an amazing artist. So I use her for my covers. I have a cover designer. I use editors for development, line, proof, whatever. I won't use AI for any of those things. So I have my limits. What really struck me was at the end of the article, or somewhere in the article, she said, and let me make sure that I read this correctly with my glasses, if I can generate a book in a day and you need 6 months to write a book, who's going to win the race? And that just struck me because, is it a race? Really? If your only goal is budget, then maybe. And it's true that I have noted, along with a lot of other authors, that our income has really gone down because the market is flooded with books written by artificial intelligence. So maybe it is a race, but I guess what really hit home is I'm taking a class on art in the Regency period. It's an amazing class. The author is half Italian, the instructor is half Italian, half English. And she describes art in the Regency period, its purpose and, everything like that. She gives a lot of examples of art and she reads it with her British accent. And then when she talks about, for instance, Naples, she'll say it with her Italian accent. It's just beautiful to listen to. And she sent me, because I needed some specific research for my 3rd book in the Bridwell series, which takes place in Rome. She sent me some extra articles, including the audio for it. And I was able to read about Naples, and she included some poems that are not well known, and she read them. And as I was listening, and I would look at the paintings and listen to the words and read the words and listen to her speak, it kind of awakened something in me that has been dormant for a while. It kind of brought up some of the sensory details and the pleasure of art, the pleasure that we get from just listening to or looking at or absorbing other people's creations. I don't know, somehow the two seem related to me. I feel like I've lost some of the pleasure, the daily pleasures in life because I am a hard worker. I have two Midwestern parents, very strong work ethic and, work. And I've got a lot to do. I've got a family. We're very active in our church. I don't take a lot of time that I used to take in my youth just to appreciate things. So I grew up the daughter of a symphony musician, and classical music was a very big part of our lives. I used to listen to it a lot and just, allow myself to be moved by it. I did musical theater. I used to paint. I was never very good at it, but I used to paint. I used to love poems. And they would just move my heart. And I realized that I've lost some of that I'm not appreciating some of the things that nourish the soul. And I think this whole talk about AI coming right at the time that I'm taking this class was not accidental. And I started to think about some of the things that I love. For instance, I used to listen to Rachmaninoff and love Rhapsody on a Theme by Paganini, and also the Second Symphony, especially the Adagio. I listen to that a lot when I'm writing, and it just fills my soul. It inspires me. And that's something I haven't done in a while. Or, as I was looking at her art, examples of art, she was talking about Thomas Lawrence. And there is Elizabeth Farren, who he painted. And, if you look at the detail of her shawl, that gleams white, or if you go down to her skirt and you can see that it's sort of transparent because you can see the ground through it, but there's like a white silk ribbon that gleams on the outside of it. These things are so beautiful. They fill my soul. Or I recently looked up again after following her class, I looked up one of my favorite poems, and I'm going to read it to you now. It's not long. It's only 3 stanzas. It's just so beautiful. It's called "The Tide Rises, the Tide Falls." The tide rises, the tide falls, the twilight darkens, the curlew calls. Along the sea sands, damp and brown, the traveler hastens toward the town, and the tide rises, the tide falls. Darkness settles on roofs and walls, but the sea, in the darkness calls. The little waves with their soft white hands efface the footprints in the sands, and the tide rises, the tide falls. The morning breaks, the steeds in their stalls stamp and neigh as the hostler calls. The day returns, but nevermore returns the traveler to the shore, and the tide rises, the tide falls. It's nostalgic. It's a little sad somehow, but it's so beautiful. And it's so filled with soul. And I don't think that that's something that we'll ever get from 200 romance novels churned out by AI. We miss the soul. So I'm going to keep losing the race and writing my books that take 6 months to write, and writing books that have soul. And I'm going to try to get back into more of those things that I loved from my youth, and take pleasure in life and not just work. And I hope you'll do the same. So that is what I want to say to you today. And if you're new to my channel and you want to try one of my books, I recommend A Fall from Grace because it's free this month everywhere. So you can get it on any platform. Just type A Fall from Grace, Jenny Goutet. If you like that, I'm going to put a couple of other special deals that are going on right now in the description, so you can go grab those before the prices go back up again. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a soul-filled day. Bye.